There we go. All right, we're live. Hi, Donna. How are you today?
Hi, Naya. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've been enjoying the summer months and trying to soak in all that sunshine.
I agree. I agree. We've had a lot of rain here in Michigan, but every second we can get in the sun,
Is
we take.
needed.
Yes.
I am a sunshine girl, so I'm glad to be living in the sunshine state and enjoying it every second because vitamin D, you need it. It's so important, and I think we take it a little bit for granted during the summer, and then the winter comes, and it's hard. But I want to give a few minutes for people to join us. We're getting a few people. Hi, everyone. I'm Naya with Rocky Mountain Oils, and I'm with Donna. And today we're going to be talking about autoimmune diseases, how you can take control of your health, and what are the holistic but scientific ways that actually work. So this isn't just, oh, my aunt said you could use this oil, or my aunt said you could do this. These are real ways you can take control of your health.
Absolutely. I'm all about the science behind everything. And, people sometimes will say, oh, it's like hocus pocus. And I'm like, it's actually not. And so to back everything up with the data that's available, because there's a ton of it out there, I think then gives people reassurance that, there are natural methods that we can use to holistically just live a better life. It's not even about trying to heal, but just be preventative and live a better life.
Awesome. Well, why don't you kind of tell everyone about yourself and what your history is and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, everyone, I'm Donna Mazzola, and by education and background, I have a doctorate of pharmacy. That's really how I started my medical journey. And through pharmacy school, we learn all about chronic disease and medicine and how to treat, but there's very little that's mentioned in regard to lifestyle management and nutrition. I mean, we just touch on the surface of it. And so that never sat well with me. And I spent about 10 years in clinical practice with patients doing medication therapy management and trying to manage their chronic diseases, such as diabetes and heart disease and, high cholesterol. And I found in every conversation that most people had no concept of what they should be eating or the importance of exercise. And it was like that conversation that I had when I had a patient with diabetes that didn't know what a carbohydrate was. And I just felt like, wow, we're really doing a disservice, and our approach in medicine needs to shift. And so I had my heart set on going back to school and getting educated in nutrition and having that credential. And it wasn't until 2015 when I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease that, it kind of accelerated that response for me, because that's one area that I knew nothing about. I knew nothing about the concept of nutrition, environmental factors, the causes of autoimmune disease, how we can mitigate them. None of that. And that's not taught in mainstream medicine whatsoever. Like I said, the focus is on our more common chronic diseases that are highlighted, like diabetes and heart disease. So I felt like, you know what, I'm going to become that source of information. And at first it was just to help myself. I'm like, I'm going to go back to school just to help myself with my own disease. And through that, what came the birth of my blog, Dr. Autoimmune Girl, because then I felt after one semester, I learned so much that I thought, you know what, I need to share this out to the world. Because if I didn't know it, then, how selfish of me not to give that information and empower others to take control of their health and to gain that knowledge that I'm learning, and share it out so that it's reputable, it's scientific, it's trusted information that is backed by science, and it's not just random or opinion or, controversial, so that people have that knowledge. Because, and I've found through my platform, I have been able to help so many people, get to their root cause of disease and just live a better life and take those steps in order to do so.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, when we're talking about what are autoimmune diseases, it is such a prevalent issue that we're now facing, especially here in America. I was reading that over 18 million people suffer from autoimmune diseases, and most of these people are women. And I know we have a lot of listeners out there and people who have been with Rocky Mountain Oils, and this is something that they have to deal with every single day. And you're right, there's not a ton of information. And a lot of times what doctors are like, well, that's just how it is. Like, you just have to live with this forever. And there's really no solution given to them.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. This is the epidemic that we're living with, is this rise in autoimmune. And a lot of times I say I don't fault the physicians and medical practitioners, because they are not taught. This isn't part of education that they have. You know, like I said, like I had to go through take it upon myself to gain that knowledge. And I would love to see that shift in the education, so that we are considering, and we are seeing a lot more of it. So, you know, in talking to providers, they are becoming more aware that there are other things that we can do to mitigate and prevent autoimmune disease. So people are always frustrated because, you know, they're like, I just got put on a medication and my doctor said there's nothing else I can do. And to be honest, they don't know how to give that direction, because they've not been taught that. And so that's the challenge that we face. And that's really where functional medicine comes into play, where we are looking to identify that root cause of disease and create that balance with nutrition and lifestyle and medicine.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about autoimmune disease and that this is so prevalent. What are some of the options that we have to help combat this rise in autoimmune? And if you have one, what are your options to help treat yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think to really start, I want to take a step back to kind of level set everybody on, you know, what are autoimmune diseases and like why are these occurring? Because then when I give you the background on what you can do, you have an understanding of why it works and why it's really important. And I think it's really $1 million question, is like, why is this happening? Why is our body fighting itself? And I think if we knew, you know, there's a lot of hypotheses around it. And it all boils down to our immune system, which our immune system is like really quite fascinating, and it's very complex. And it consists of, you know, a variety of cells and mechanisms. And the whole purpose of our immune system is to protect us. And it does so, you know, it identifies something that's foreign to our body. And it has these immune cells that then release what we call these cytokines. And this is key for everyone to understand, because I'm going to talk about things that you can do holistically to mitigate and reduce the release of these cytokines. But these cytokines are inflammatory in nature, and we need them if our body identifies that there's something foreign in order to fight and remove it. But then our immune system is supposed to turn off at that point. And what's happening is that we are so exposed to various environmental factors, you know, foods that are not food, they're food-like substances, they're essentially chemicals, right, in our body. And they're creating this ongoing chronic inflammatory response. So our immune system never turns off. So we always have this release of these cytokines, and you have this chronic inflammatory process that's going on that ultimately is going to lead to the development of disease. When we think about autoimmune disease, it actually takes about 8 to 10 years before an actual diagnosis is made. So many people spend that amount of time suffering, and really they're suffering from symptoms associated with chronic inflammation, you know? And so when we talk about things that we can do, all these things are going to be what you can do to reduce that inflammatory response and to bring your immune system, you know, and have it more regulated. So it can identify the good from the bad. It can know when to turn on and off. And it's not always living in this turned on state that's continuously, perpetually, you know, releasing these cytokines.
And when you're living with chronic inflammation, can be in your gut, this can be in your joints, right? There's multiple ways that this manifests through your body physically.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's why we see so many different autoimmune diseases that can occur. So somebody might not get a full diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, for instance. You know, it's starting with just joint pain and, you know, swelling that's occurring, and they can't figure out why, and they think they're doing everything right. But they continuously, you know, like I said, eat poor foods, don't sleep well, highly stressed, don't exercise, right? And so essentially we're living an inflammatory lifestyle, right? And so as a result of that, now slowly you're going to see that attack that's going to occur, on various organ systems, so it can occur on your thyroid gland, on your pancreas, on your nerves, on your joints, right? And so it's just a matter of kind of that tissue that is going to be attacked, and then disease is going to manifest as a result.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. And I know that I don't actually know how many autoimmune diseases are there, but there's a lot, and there's a lot of different variants, and there's severity levels. But one that I see a lot of our readers and people we communicate with a lot is Hashimoto's, which I know you also had, right?
That's
yeah,
right.
and that's with your thyroid gland and your hormones. And so I think that when we're focusing on, or when we're talking about autoimmune diseases, it's more than just arthritis or these other ones that we think of. There's a lot of other factors. And so I hope that means there's other options for us to help combat those symptoms as well.
Yeah, there's actually identified about 80 to 100 autoimmune diseases. So
wow.
There's a lot. And so we hear about like those top 10, right? Like rheumatoid and MS and Hashimoto's and Graves and celiac. And so those are the most common, but there's people that live with autoimmune-like symptoms. And, those are essentially, symptoms associated with chronic inflammation that we see. And so therefore, when we talk about holistically, how can we manage that's the approach. The approach is to reduce inflammation, because there isn't, we're not going to target, like if I was targeting specifically just the thyroid, I would probably talk about more specific nutrients that are involved in the pathophysiology of thyroid hormone and things like that more specifically. But from a broad stance, the overarching takeaway that I want everybody to leave here with is that we want to reduce inflammation. And the question then becomes, how do we do that, right?
How do we do that?
How do we do that? So the thing that I always start with is food, and nutrition and our diet. The gut plays a huge role in inflammation and autoimmune disease development. 70% of your immune system is housed in your gut. And so when you have this disruption in your gut bacteria, this is where we're finding a lot of immune dysregulation occurring. This is the reason why we're seeing people having more allergy response and food intolerances that they never had before, is because we're continuing to see this assault that's occurring on our gut barrier. And the reason for that is so everything that goes in, right, that you intake goes into your gut, right? So that's kind of like the first line of defense. And this is really more so, that's what we ingest, but your skin is on the outside is, another mucosal lining, that's a line of defense. Your nasal passage is a mucosal lining, that's and these are all, are there to protect us. So they identify, so if we inhale something, right, everything that we inhale is a toxin, that we're living in pollution essentially. But our immune system is able to recognize that, and is able to recognize that it doesn't need to fight everything, right? Not everything is bad. So, and this is the concept of immune tolerance, is what we refer to it as. So we think about our gut, so everything that we eat, and we have this gut wall that's meant to be porous enough to absorb the necessary nutrients from the foods we eat, but able to be walled off so that there isn't anything leaking into our bloodstream. And so when we start to eat, processed foods, ingesting things like glyphosate that's sprayed on our crop, all these chemicals that end up into our body that then disrupt that wall, and they basically open it up. So it should be closed off, and now all of a sudden there's holes. Okay, and this is that concept of leaky gut. So now, because of these holes that have been generated, these food antigens or food proteins, right, that we eat are now leaking into our bloodstream, and they're not supposed to be there. So as a result, our immune system's there's something foreign in here, attack. And so now we sudden you used to be able to tolerate legumes and now you can't. And you used to be able to tolerate, garlic, and now every time you eat it, you can't. And so slowly, because we have this like overly porous gut, and we have this upregulated inflammatory response, everything we eat now, we're reacting. We're having these symptoms of, fatigue and bloating and, things we can't figure out. And why does it happen with everything that I eat? So that's a big part of it. And so we want to heal our gut. We want to be able to seal it and make sure that, like I said, it has the ability to absorb the nutrients. We want it healthy because let's say you don't do that, but then all of a sudden you have leaky gut, but now you started eating lots of fruits and vegetables. We're not going to absorb those nutrients if our gut wall isn't healthy enough to do so. So it's really important to be able to heal the gut wall, give it the nutrients that it needs so that it flourishes, ensure that we have the right bacterial composition in there, right? So that we talk about probiotics. Why do we need them? Well, we don't want the bad bacteria to overwhelm the good bacteria. We want that to be in a different balance, right? So we want high levels of that good bacteria, because that helps support our immune system. It helps keep our gut, healthy and fight off those, those bad pathogens that are entering. And so that's kind of number one, is to focus on our gut health and heal it. But then at the same time, we want to, and how do we do that? I guess that's the next question. How do we do that? And a lot of it, what I tell people is like, you can do these expensive tests that will tell you what you're highly, allergic to or intolerant to is really what it is. But a lot of people that do them, I can tell you, it's going to show that you're intolerant to everything, especially if you have leaky gut, because everything's leaking into the bloodstream and your body's developing an immune response to all of it. So I kind of feel like those are a little bit, like I say to people, just save your money. Do an elimination diet, a gut healing protocol where you eliminate inflammatory foods, eliminate things like gluten, like dairy, soy, alcohol, grains, take all of that out and give your gut a chance to heal. And it doesn't take long. So our gut lining can actually regenerate itself every 3 days. So it can regenerate itself pretty quickly. But we want to do this for at least a period of 21 days, because that's how long it takes for that antibody response that's been developed to those foods to decrease. So at that point, people can reintroduce those foods and see how they react. And so you'll know, as soon as you intake dairy again, you're going to have symptoms immediately, because you've reduced your response so low that as soon as you ingest dairy, your body's going to react. And it's going to react extremely high, as opposed to if you were just eating it every day and you just have this constant bloating. So that's the key, to identify kind of those things and to just heal our gut lining. And then, if we do so, then what are the next steps that we take to like overall live healthier and reduce that inflammatory response? And my response here always is like, because people are always struggling. Well, what am I supposed to eat? And the easiest way to think about it, my advice is always 9 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables of an array of colors every single day.
So you got to eat the rainbow.
You got to eat the rainbow, and you got to eat at least 9 to 12 servings. And because the plants that and it's not to say that, I'm telling everybody to be vegan or vegetarian, or you can eat animal proteins as well. But the whole purpose of plants is that they have these powerful phytochemicals in them that are extremely anti-inflammatory, that have high antioxidant potential, that is going to ultimately reduce that inflammatory response. And it's going to mitigate disease development. It's going to heal your gut. And so people always ask, well, how am I supposed to do that? Like 9 to 12 servings is impossible, So I always say, start your day with a smoothie. You can easily put 3 to 4 servings in a smoothie, strawberries, banana, put some kale in there, and whatever other fruit or vegetable you want to add. And then always have a salad with your meal. So have a side salad with your lunch, have one with dinner, and then, between your meals, you're going to have additional vegetables involved with that. If you want a dessert, a snack, have some fruit, grab an apple, some grapes, and so consciously, you don't really need to think about it. You just kind of need to change the way that you're eating, and it won't become like a punishment, but it'll just ultimately be part of that lifestyle.
Well, and I think too, you can always take it in like small steps. If you are going from eating no vegetables, maybe you're like on that carb and meat diet, you can just slowly add things in, and then it becomes a habit over time. I think going 0 to 100 is always a big feat. And so when we're making these lifestyle changes, adding
Yeah.
in that smoothie in the morning, and then that becomes your habit, and then adding in that salad and things like that. I love all the veggies.
Yeah, and I always say that, when you do have to do it slowly, and it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And as you do so, you start to feel better. And so as you start to feel better, you start wanting to add the next step, right? And so and that's with diet. But then there are other things that, I want people to think about, and that's stress. Touched a little.
Hold on, Donna, 1 second. You're a little bit blurry. I don't know. You were kind of cutting in and out. So maybe go back a little bit. You start talking about stress.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. I'm not sure why.
No.
Yeah, so I touched a little bit on, so in the beginning, we talked about reducing that chronic inflammatory response and what are ways to do that. And so we said food is one, but stress is another big one. And I think a lot of times it's, you go to the doctor, you say, I'm having fatigue, and, I'm waking up every morning at 2 a.m. and I can't sleep and whatever it may be. And they just say, oh, well, you're just stressed. Well, that's taken so lightly, but stress is so powerful on the body. And when we talk about those inflammatory cytokines, that are released because we're in that inflammatory state, when you're under a lot of stress, you have like a surge of these inflammatory cytokines that occur and that are released and that are just circulating in your system. And I always give my own personal example with the stress of the pandemic last year. I personally have an autoimmune disease, and the stress of that year, and I changed nothing with my lifestyle in terms of exercise, diet, everything stayed the same, but my stress level was through the roof, with the unknowns, with, kids at home and schools, right? There was just so much going on that I went into a severe flare. And that's just proof, and really, like, it's my own anecdotal case, but it's proof that because I was under so much stress, my immune system was upregulated. I had a surge of inflammation, and therefore what happens is I have an increased attack that went on my thyroid gland because my immune system was so revved up and I was so stressed. So I think that's, important to keep in mind. And, meditation practice is, it's real and it works. And there's tons of science and data behind it where they've actually studied people that have regularly done meditation for 15, 20 minutes a day, over a course of 8 weeks. They actually measured those inflammatory cytokines and saw significant reduction as a result of meditation practice. So yes, doing yoga and meditation and breathing practices before bed, even however you can fit it into your lifestyle, it works. And there are many benefits to it.
And I will say, you were talking about, your stress and you were getting sick. I think everyone has probably experienced a time where they were stressed at work or with the kids or at school, and all of a sudden you have a cold or you have the flu and you have all of these things happening because your body is just overwhelmed. It doesn't know how to properly handle anything. And so having these stress relieving techniques, whether that's meditation, whether that's breathing exercises, yoga, all of those things allow you to, keep your cool, I guess, but also allow your body to work the way it's meant to and help you, not work against you.
Exactly. Yeah. You want it to work with you, not against you. And that's what happens when we're under stress. It's definitely working against you.
Yes. And so I think this year has been extra stressful. And what are some of we talked about meditation. One thing that I know I use is essential oils and use those in breathing exercises. Those who are watching, we've done lots of different videos with Phoenix and different aroma tapping and meditation guides and how you can use these extra experiences to help find that stress relieving properties.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, we talked about plants in the chemicals in plants, and that's, I focused on plants that we're eating, but that's what oils are. Oils are from plants. And so those same chemicals are available in essential oils, but in such concentrated amounts that you're going to gain those same benefits, you know? So that's another way to utilize plants in order to alleviate that inflammation that's being caused.
Yeah, I mean, Mother Nature has really given us everything. I mean, even the pharmaceuticals that we use, the medicine, it all comes from plants. So that's where everything is derived. The closer, though, we can get to those natural, organic, straight from the earth, I feel, and we know that they work and that we need to be more connected to these plants and use them in all aspects of our life. But we only have a few minutes left, about 5 minutes, and we have some questions popping in. So let's answer a few of those. Does that work for you?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. So we have someone asking prebiotic versus probiotic. This is from Wanda. So I'm not sure exactly, but maybe you can explain the difference and how they work together.
Yeah, absolutely. So prebiotics, I want you to think about them as like the fertilizer that feed the probiotics in the gut. And so, you can increase prebiotics through like high fiber foods that will then produce what they basically ferment in your intestines, and they produce things like butyrate, these various they call short chain fatty acids that then feed the good bacteria, but they don't feed the bad bacteria. So that's why you need both. So when you have a dysregulation in good and bad bacteria, and you're increasing your prebiotics, you're ingesting probiotics, you're going to have like this surge of good bacteria that develops. And now you have this super happy and healthy gut as a result. So fiber is super important in that.
So you definitely need both, because you could give yourself all of those healthy bacteria, but if they don't have the right food to thrive off of, they're going to not live or thrive in your gut. So
exactly.
Awesome. And then we have a question from Tasha, and she is asking about hormonal. Hold on, this is a little bit long. So after she gave birth to her baby, she feels like she's gotten so sick all the time. She's catching everything, and her hormones feel out of whack. What are some options, holistic nutrition ways that she can help solve that?
Yeah, that's the challenge for women post-pregnancy. And I will say that the majority of autoimmune disease that develops in women occurs post-pregnancy, because we see a shift in our hormones. And, a rise in estrogen has been associated with autoimmune disease development. There's actually been studies that have found that there are actually estrogen receptors on our T cells in our immune system. And so binding to those actually activates our immune system. And so unfortunately, we talked about how women are more prone to hormonal, autoimmune disease, and a lot of it has to do with hormone dysregulation. So what can you do for that? Again, I'm going to go back to the diet, reducing inflammation, having these hormonal fluctuations, increasing fiber. Fiber is really key to help break down, detox that if it is excess estrogen, to get that out. Estrogen, as it breaks down, it can be toxic. We want to eliminate it. So it breaks down into 3 different forms. And so you want to be able to eliminate it, and it does so by the liver. So you want to make sure your liver is healthy. How do we do that? We make sure that we're nourishing it. We're nourishing it with the nutrients that it needs in order to detox our body and remove those toxins out.
Yeah, so I had no idea that autoimmune diseases were more prevalent after giving birth or having babies. So that's huge. That can affect a lot of women. Yeah. And I think postpartum is not something we talk a lot about. So
great. And also postmenopausal. So in premenopause, we'll see women that start to develop. It's because we're starting to see a drop in progesterone and a rise in estrogen. So it's gender bias for sure. Autoimmune diseases are, and it's because of our hormones.
Interesting. And talking about menopause and premenopause, I know you're going to say nutrition, but what are some options that you should focus on specifically if you're heading into menopause and you want to make sure that it's smooth sailing as much as possible?
Yeah, you're right. I'm going to go back to nutrition. Mm-hmm. I am, because it's everything. Like, food is medicine, and avoiding that inflammatory response in the body. But again, liver health. The liver is so important. We're also seeing a rise in like fatty liver disease, and it's because of the foods that we're eating. But like our body is so powerful that it has the ability to balance our hormones and to detox it. But if we continuously assault it with these environmental factors that like hinder it to do so, like we keep building our toxic burden that our liver can't keep up, our body can't keep up, and therefore we end up sick. And like I said, estrogen needs to be detoxed out of the body as well. And so that's another one. But also exercise, sleep. And those things sound like, okay, that's not really going to do it, but it will. I mean, your body also needs to regenerate itself. It's important that, melatonin, we think about it as the sleep hormone, but melatonin helps to regulate our immune system. It helps to reduce inflammation. It'll balance our hormones. All these things work. It's a hormone as well. So all these things work in conjunction with one another. So, ensuring, like, again, going back to ensuring that we're not living this inflammatory lifestyle overall in general will help overall with those symptoms.
Awesome. Well, my last question then is, you just talked about fatty liver disease and detoxing the liver. Are there any specific foods that you would use to help detox your liver?
Yeah, so our liver goes through various phases in how it detoxes. And so for phase one, you really want, to get the vitamins, the micronutrients from your plants. B vitamins are huge in terms of that. And sometimes I always recommend to just take multivitamin as well, in addition to eating, because unfortunately our crops are also depleted nowadays just because of farming practices and whatnot. So you're not always getting the amount of nutrients that are in there. The second phase of our detox pathway requires protein. It requires amino acids. So we do need to eat a decent amount of protein every day. I always say about 0.8 milligrams per kilogram, of protein needs to be consumed every single day. And, about 80 to 100 grams roughly, because your body needs that protein in order to bind up those toxins and get it ready to be eliminated. Fiber plays another key role in that. But then at the second stage, let's say you're doing all that perfectly, but you don't have a bowel movement daily, or you're not drinking enough water. So you're not going to be able to flush out those toxins through your kidney. You're not going to be able to eliminate them through your feces. And what's going to happen is it's all going to recirculate back in. And so I talk about, bowel movements daily. And people are like, that's a touchy subject. Many people don't go every day, but that is so important in order to eliminate and detox those toxins out. Otherwise, everything that you're doing or you think you're doing right is just going to recirculate back in, and you're going to continue this vicious cycle.
Yeah, it might not be the prettiest subject to talk about, but it's definitely something very important. And you talked about drinking enough water. I think that's something a lot of us probably could do a lot better. And it's so simple by just having, those at least 64 ounces of water each day. But with today's world, sodas and coffees and wine and all of those things, we kind of forget about water, but that is such a crucial part of our health. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Donna. To everyone else who asked questions, we'll go through and we'll answer them. I think we got to most of them, but thank you again for coming on, and thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.